Right.
However you met.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
we
saying?
met because I was interviewing nuclear weapons engineers who were setting off nuclear bombs in Area 51, in the Nevada test site, Area 12, Area 23. And they all said to me, you've got to talk to the top engineer of all this weaponry. And they gave me his name. And we talked for days and hours about nuclear weapons. And then, in one conversation, he began to cry and told me this story that I was like, what? What?
Why was he crying?
He was crying because he participated in our version of the human experiments. Because what the Russians do, we do. Look, I've written 5 books about this.
We altered people to make them look like aliens?
According to him, we had a small program in 1951 where we wanted to see how the Russians did what they did, how they made human beings look like this.
So what'd they do? Take prisoners or something? Like what? Who do they alter?
He said they were handicapped children.
Oh, Jesus.
And he told me that he participated in this. So again, unless you have someone that lost their mind at age 90 and was willing to tell their wife of 65 years, I lost my mind.
So he's saying that he participated in something that altered handicapped children. When you say handicapped, you mean like Down syndrome or something like that? And they made them look like aliens and then killed them? Like what did they do with this?
This is where we get into drops of information coming out. But what I can say is he had a grandchild that was born that way. And the grandchild did not live long. The grandchild died. And it made him feel so guilty about what he had done that he felt compelled to confess, if you will. And I remember saying to him, why are you telling me this? Why don't you tell a priest? And he said, a priest would judge me, and I can tell you won't.
Why wouldn't you judge him? I'd judge him.
Well, I guess that's why I'm a born journalist, Joe, because I really try not to judge people. My new book, Surprise, Kill, Vanish, it's about assassins. It's about people who work for the CIA who do what needs to be done on the ground in the name of national security. I don't judge them. This is why, what's really at issue here is morality, right?
Yeah.
Can I tell you how I got the idea for this book?
Sure, but let me, before we go any further, so...
You want to talk about the aliens?
Yeah. Was he saying that there have never been any encounters with alien spacecrafts?
He was totally neutral about aliens. He had nothing to do with aliens. He could have cared less. He didn't watch the X-Files.
And what was his take on Bob Lazar?
His take on Bob Lazar was that he probably saw something that the government had an extension of the program. He didn't know. That was speculative. We didn't talk about that. Other than inference. He was very limited in the information that he would get out. But, I used 79 sources in that book that all went on the record in name. And he was the one anonymous source. But like I said, he told me after he died that I could tell the whole story.
Are you going to?
I might. I might come back.
Write another book?
Well, if you give me a break and back off of this subject, I might come back and tell you and your audience
his name. This is your book. I want to promote your book. I know you want to promote your new book, but I want to promote this book as well.
I'm teasing you, right?
I know you are.
But it's an astonishing story. And I think the best line of all is that people that read about that in the very end of what we did, they go, I wish they were aliens.
So Stalin created some sort of a craft that mimicked...
You're going to read it.
Okay.
That's what you're going to do the rest of the afternoon. Nope. I'm going to come back on your show after you read it.
This is a podcast, and we're talking. I think we should probably get into this a little bit.
Okay. Come on with the questions.
Okay.
I'm used to asking the questions.
Are you? Oh, right. As a journalist, yeah. Now, Stalin and the Russians created something that mimicked a UFO, something that looked like it would be from another planet? Is that what they did?
Mothership. Mm-hmm. In those days, drones were... There was a mothership and a drone was attached to it, and it was jettisoned off. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, according...
In those days?
Well, in 1947, 48,
What do you mean by...
Well, they didn't... that was drone technology then.
Okay.
Right? So there's a mother craft, like an aircraft, and then the drone is like a small aircraft under it, and it gets jettisoned off. And that was what the craft was. It was jettisoned off. So Stalin actually, according to the source, invaded our airspace, which was the deep embarrassment to Truman.
So he invaded our airspace and then let this drone crash land on the ground with these things that turned out to be human.
Yes.
They looked like aliens, but they turned out to be humans that were manipulated surgically to look like aliens.
Yes, as a way to, and remember, I mean, not remember, but where this was, very close to a nuclear weapons base, to our White Sands military base. I mean, this is like not a place you want the Russians to be able to get near,
Right.
I mean, what was interesting is at Area 51, we then went out and mimicked all of those. One of our early drones was a mimicry of that. It was there was a M21, which was the mothership, and a D21, which was the daughter ship. So
How did they pilot them? Was it wirelessly like we do now?
No. Then it was like there was a pilot in the mothership, and they kind of let it go. Right, and it flew off. I mean, there's incredible stories of what the CIA was able to do out there at Area 51 with their air branch. The technology, they're always ahead of technology. That's what's remarkable.
Well, what Bob Lazar did film that was really shocking was the filming of these drones flying around and performing these really you've seen those videos, I'm sure, right?
In the 80s, it gets really crazy with what they're able to do and what they're... But, I mean, why I like looking at history is because you can see the progression, you know? You see how science evolves, bit by bit. And then there's these great breakthroughs, because what the government is always looking for is called a revolution in military affairs, right? And that's certainly what drone technology did later on, as drones became developed after the Vietnam War.
So in the 1980s, when Bob Lazar was filming all this stuff, you think this was similar to the technology that we see publicly described today in terms of like what drones are capable of?
Sure. I mean,
so
that's
they probably had something like that back then.
When the F-117 was revealed during the first Gulf War, that aircraft was being developed for 25 years out at Area 51. Actually, at Area 52 was where they had it set up to develop that stealth technology. Think about, and what was amazing, talk about keeping secrets. They had something like 10,000 people working on that. No one knew about it. That story was never broken by the press, not by anyone. It just suddenly appeared in the Gulf War and took out Saddam Hussein's, facilities. That's a revolution in military affairs. What becomes interesting